Hi, today I want to show you how you can set up your Android project receiving Firebase cloud messaging push notifications using the Firebase service. So earlier I was showing to you how you can set it up for your project in the Firebase console on the website, and how you can uh, make the application for the iOS systems, and how you can get the messages and how you can show the messages. So today I want to show you the Android application setup, which is pretty much the same as the iOS setup, but because we are using Google services, the integration is much more simpler and easier. So at first, if you remember, in the previous tutorials, I was showing that how you can go through the setup process in the Firebase console. And if you remember, then we had this Google Services JSON file what we had to download to basically integrate the service setup into the Google Android projects. And also we have the SDK instruction, which is helping to set up the Android application for your project. So let's go here, because we already downloaded this Google JSON service, and then let's go to the Firebase SDK application. So here you can select if you have a Gradle file using Kotlin language, or you can use the or earlier version, this Groovy version. In my application, I was using this one because I was more familiar with the old way of working. So what you need to do here is that you need to follow this instruction and implement the services as described here. So you need to go to the Gradle build and application module and add the services as described here. So let's go to the application and let's go to the Gradle services. So here you can see that the first one, the Google GMS Google service, is added, and then we have the other one for the module. And here under the implementation, you need to add the services as you can see here. So one thing I should mention, because here if you check this additions here, these are just containing this BOM implementation. But if you want to send messages, or if you want to have analytics, then you should implement some more here. So this Firebase Analytics and messaging service I added to the project, and this will help to run the application. Of course, what I forgot to mention, that at the plugins you should also add this this line here. Okay, so the application ID should be the same what you have in the Firebase console. So if you check this application ID here, the same you have basically here under the package name. And what you can see on the console file or console page under the Android file is that you have these fingerprints certificates empty originally, and I will tell you how you can get this filled up. So let's come back here. What you also need to do here is that if you want to get messages from the service, then you should also implement an additional thing here, And for that, you need to go to the manifest file, and under the manifest file, you need to add at first a permission requirement, so that basically you want to get post notification or push notifications. You need to add this Android permission post notifications. So this is the first thing what you need to implement, and in the application, of course, you also need to take care about checking the permission if it is given or not. And if it is not given, then you should ask the user to set up or to enable the receiving of the push notifications. Otherwise, the system will not deliver the notifications to the application, or actually it will deliver, but you should not show these things. The next thing is that you need to add service content here. So under this, you need to define the class name of the service class what you need to implement in order to receive the background notifications for the application. So if you are not implementing such thing, then again you will not be able to handle the notifications and show them. And then also what should be filtered here is the messaging event. So if the Firebase is sending for you a messaging event. The next ones are just some metadata for the notification. So if you want to implement your own notification icon, then you can set it up at the drawables, and also you can define the notification default color. So if we are going into the drawables, here we have this IC notification icon, and this is looking like this. But of course you can replace it with your own drawable resource, and then this will be shown in the messaging or at the notification area of the phone. Then the second one was the color. This is just simply a color what you can define under the color resources. Here I'm using the white one. So back to the manifest file. So these three things what you should define here for your application. So this actually the service itself, and these two metadata thing. If you are not defining this, then a default notification icon and color will be used. So let's go to the application at first. So here in the application, you should have, as I mentioned, at the on create, you should register for the permission request activity, and depending on the result, you should show the permission request. So here you can see that which permission is requested. So once it is checked that which permission state we have, so for the notifications we get from the system, if it is approved or denied, then we are checking the state itself, and if it is denied, then the application should request a permission. And here you can request more permissions if you want, but you should definitely request the permission for receiving notifications. Okay, then for the Firebase messaging itself, of course you need to import the Firebase messaging if you want to implement Firebase messaging. And if you want to also implement the analytics, then you should also add here the analytics, but here we just use now the messaging service itself. So we are checking the setup basically. So with this, if you go back to the Firebase console, and we go to the Firebase messaging, then basically it's saying that that we don't need to implement anything else, just these ones, and yeah, then we just need to get the token from the Firebase messaging, and then once we have this token, we can save it, or we can print it out for the debug area, and we can show it for further processing, let's say. Okay, so basically here we don't have anything else what we need to do. We should go to the Firebase class, what we defined in the manifest file. So you can see that the class name is my Firebase, and we are basically extending the Firebase messaging service. So here what you need to do is that you need to implement the on message received function, and you can have the show notification function, which is basically your own function. So this is already a kind of extension to the original Firebase messaging service. And here what we are doing is basically that we are receiving the message, and then we are showing it to the user. Of course, this is not important if you don't want to show the message content to the user when the application is in foreground. But if the application is in foreground, then typically the messages are not shown to the user. So you need to implement a function which is basically dealing with these foreground message receivers, and then you can basically create or you can show the notification banner for the user. So what we are doing here is actually just we are receiving the information, and of course here you can handle the data portion, and you also have the title and body content of the message. So you can just print it out in the debug area, and as you can see, if there is a notification title and body, in this case, or in this sample application, we call the show notification information with the content of the message. So then here in the show notification, actually we are creating a notification channel in which we will show the message, and this channel can be individually controlled by the user later on. They can enable or disable to receive notifications for the or show notifications for the application. Then we are setting the importance high for the notification itself. This is important to set to high or to other high importance. Actually, there are other options. So you have the max and the high. So if you set it to max or high, this will basically push the notification to the display. So if you are having low, you might not get the banner out on the screen. Okay, so here we need to to do certain things that if we are targeting lower versions than this one, then we need to create this notification channel. If in older versions you didn't have this notification channel individually, so there you don't need to create this, so you should or the application should ignore these lines. And here what I was using from another application, that you can also send data to the application, and you can identify this data with certain in my case I was calling them segments of the message data, and within the segments you can basically classify which kind of information you want to send, or which kind of information the application we receive from you. And then we need to basically create the notification itself. So here actually the notification itself is set up, but depending on the user permissions, we should check, if we can show this notification or not. So if the permission is not granted, then we cannot show the notification to the user. And here, if we have the permission, then of course we can use the notification, and we can basically send it out to the user. One more thing what we should also mention here is that when you are setting up this Firebase service, you should also or you can override, you don't need to override the onNew token function. And definitely if you want to do something with the token, save it together with the user ID or similar activities you want to do, basically you can do it here, and then you can use this token to inform each individual user based on their token. So and even you can identify the device itself, because this token is not user dependent but device dependent. So if the user may be logging into your application on different devices, and you would only store one token to the user ID itself, then you would always have one device ID attached to the user ID, and this is not the right way to do the implementation, because if the user is using more devices, then all the devices should be registered to the user. And if you want to send a message to the user, you should send it for all the devices independently. So you should use multiple tokens and send out the messages to the user. So here I'm not doing anything like that. I'm just using the token change function, and the token change function is printing out the received token. Here in the Android version, the token is only let's say printed out in this project if the token is changed. So if you received the token already earlier, then you will not get to this point until the token is changing for your device. So if you get this or if you want to print it out every time you want or you need, then you should you should basically implement this instance at the instance um, function itself. So here we can also print out the token if we want. Actually, the as you can see, the Firebase token is here, and we can also print the Firebase token here for our needs. Okay, so basically that's all what you need to do in your Android application. Of course, you can do much more. So if you want to deal with the messaging, or you want to send messages out from your application, this is also possible. So you can create a message in your application, and you can send it via the Firebase messaging service. But I don't go into this detail. We are just currently focusing on setting up the messaging and receiving messages from the server. So let's see how the application works. Okay, so let's run the application in the simulator. And as you can see, the application is popping up the notification permission. So as the application is running first, we can say, or we can see this notification for the permission request. So let's say don't allow, just to show you what happens if the user is doing this. So actually, so if you run the application again, you will always get this notification until you are not setting the permission to allow. So here in the application I don't have anything actually, so we can't see the content here, but okay. So to get the Firebase token into the log file or log screen, I was changing these lines to show the Firebase token when it is received. So let's run the application. Okay, so now we should have the token itself here, and yes, we can see it here. And then we can copy this so we can copy this this token. Okay, so let's run the application again. The token should remain the same, and let's go to the console and get to the messages, and let's duplicate a message, maybe this one, and then go to the send test message or send test. Okay, so we basically add this registration token, and to show this, we're sending it out to the application. So as you can see, when we are sending out a message to a certain device, then the application is receiving it, and it's displaying it as planned. However, in the background, let's check the settings. So if we go to the settings, and then the applications, and then we have here the sample notification or sample project, and as you can see that the channel itself is established. So we have an additional channel, and then we are showing or receiving the messages for this channel, as well as for the for the standard channels or the standard messages as well. So when the application is in background, okay, so when the application is in background and we are sending the message again, and the message is just received and it's not displayed. You can get it from the dashboard basically, and you can check what was the content of the message. The other thing is that you can get the application notification dot on the application icon, but because I was deleting the messages, I can't show it again. Okay, so one more thing what I need to mention here. So I was talking about the settings here on the web page, and also this certificate information. So to get this, because if you don't have this fingerprints added to your project, then you will not be able to send out the notifications to your project, because basically this is identifying that which project should or which application should get the messages, and for that you need to register the application itself on the Google website. So you can get these certificates if you go to your project. So if I'm going to my projects, so if you go to your project and you are going to the testing area, you can go to the internal testing, and then you can create a release, create a new release. At first, of course, you need to add testers to your developer side. Otherwise, it will not work. Once you uploaded a release and you get it, let's say, active within the console, then you can go to the app integrity section, and here you have an app signing thing where you can go in, and then as you can see, the app signing key certificates are here. So from here you need to copy this fingerprint, this certificate fingerprint, the SHA1 and the SHA256 certificates. You need to I mean the identifier of this fingerprint, you need to copy to your console site. So let's go back to the Firebase console and back to the sample project, and here under the settings you have the Android project, and here you can see that I uploaded this SHA1 fingerprint. So this is exactly this one, and the next one is this ending with the 6D, and here it's ending with the 6D. So these two you need to upload into the Firebase console, otherwise you will not be able to send messages to the application. So that's all about setting up your application to receive Firebase messaging. As you can see, it's not that difficult, but you need to make sure that you are adding those information, or you are uploading those information which are necessary to get and send messages from the Firebase server or to receive by your application. And later on I will also show you how you can integrate this service with your website or with your web backend. So if you are using an application which is serving data from the web, and you are using for that some web applications behind, and then you can also send this message directly from your web server. And of course the content you can send from your application, and then you can send the message to either to one user, or you can also let's say send to different topics. So if the users are registered to receive topic information or topic notifications, then you can also let's say target these topics to send messages to the users, and then you can reach a bigger amount of users and a bigger group of users. So that's all about for the Android setup. And if you like my tutorial, then please don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Goodbye.